There is a woman in Burkina Faso whose name you will probably never know. She has never given a speech. She has never appeared on television. She has never stood before the United Nations or shaken hands with presidents. She is not famous. She is not powerful. She is a housewife from one of the smallest villages in West Africa. But she made a decision that changed the history of an entire continent. She is Ibrahim Traoré's mother. And this is her story. And his. March 14th, 1988. A baby is born in Kera. If you search for Kera on a map, you will have trouble finding it. It is a speck inside the commune of Bondokwi, in Muhun province, in the western part of Burkina Faso. There are no skyscrapers. There are no fancy hospitals. The roads are not paved. Life moves at the speed of the seasons, of the harvest, of the prayers called 5 times a day. This is where Ibrahim Traoré opened his eyes for the first time. Not in a palace, not in a city, in a village where your neighbor is your family, and the earth beneath your feet is all the wealth you know. His father was a man who carried 2 burdens that most people cannot carry alone. He was a soldier and a nurse. During the day, he served his country with a weapon. In the spaces between, he served his people with medicine. A man who could take life and save life. A man who knew both sides of what it means to sacrifice. And his mother watched this man come home tired, scarred by things he could not talk about, carrying the invisible weight that every soldier's family knows. She saw what military life did to him, not just physically, spiritually. She saw the toll it takes when a country sends you to fight, but does not give you what you need to come back whole. And she made a promise to herself, a promise born from the deepest kind of love, the kind that wants to protect even when you cannot control what happens next. She decided that her children would never wear a uniform. None of them. She had given enough. Her husband had given enough. The military would not take her sons. Any mother watching this video right now understands that feeling. You know what it is like to want to wrap your child in safety and never let the world touch them. You know what it is like to lie awake at night worrying about someone you love more than yourself. That is the feeling Ibrahim Traoré's mother carried every single day. And for many years, it seemed like her wish would hold. Ibrahim was not the kind of child who played soldier in the yard. He was quiet. Not shy. Quiet. There is a difference. Shy children hide from the world. Quiet children study it. Ibrahim studied everything. His teachers in Bondokwi noticed immediately that this boy was different. He absorbed knowledge like the dry Sahel earth absorbs the first rain after a long drought. He was brilliant, but he never made noise about it. He just worked, silently, consistently, perfectly. When he was old enough, he left Kera for Bobo Dioulasso, the second largest city in Burkina Faso. For a village boy, this was like stepping onto another planet. Bigger streets, different languages mixing in the air, the hum of a city that never fully sleeps. But Ibrahim did not change. He carried Kera inside him like a compass. He stayed quiet. He stayed focused. He stayed himself. Anyone who has left a small town for a big city knows this feeling. You know how easy it is to lose yourself, to forget where you came from, to become someone your parents would not recognize. Ibrahim never forgot. He carried his village in his bones. In 2006, he entered the University of Ouagadougou. He chose geology, the science of what lies beneath the surface, rocks, minerals, the hidden architecture of the earth. There is something beautiful about this choice when you know what happened later. The man who would one day take back Burkina Faso's gold from foreign hands spent his youth learning exactly what that gold was, where it came from, and how much it was worth. God has a sense of poetry. At university, Ibrahim did something that most quiet people never do. He spoke up. He joined ENEB, the Marxist National Association of Students of Burkina Faso. This was not a social club where students drank tea and debated philosophy. ENEB was serious. It talked about exploitation, about the systems designed to keep poor countries poor and rich countries rich, about why Africa's wealth always seemed to end up in someone else's bank account. Ibrahim rose to the position of delegate, and his classmates discovered something about this quiet boy from Kara that would later define his presidency. Whenever someone was treated unfairly, whenever the system tried to crush a student, whenever there was injustice, Ibrahim Traoré was the one who stood up. Every single time. He did not stand up for himself. He stood up for others. Think about the people in your own life. How many of them stand up when it costs them nothing? Plenty. Now, how many stand up when it might cost them everything? That is Ibrahim Traoré. That has always been Ibrahim Traoré. From the classroom to the battlefield to the presidential palace, the setting changes. The man never does. He graduated with honors, a geology degree, a future as bright as the minerals he had studied. He could have worked for any mining company. He could have joined the international firms that extract billions from African soil and ship the profits to London and Paris and Toronto. He could have had a comfortable life, an air-conditioned office, a salary his family in Kara could not even imagine. And then he went home and told his mother he wanted to join the army. Picture this scene, because it is the most important scene in this entire story. More important than any coup, more important than any speech at the United Nations, more important than any military operation, a kitchen. Or maybe a courtyard, a mother and her son. The son she raised, the son she protected, the son she watched excel at everything he touched. And this son, this gift from God, is looking at her and saying the one thing she spent his entire life praying she would never hear. I want to be a soldier. Every parent who has ever watched their child choose a dangerous path knows this moment. The moment when love and fear fight each other inside your chest. The moment when you want to scream, no, but you look into your child's eyes and see something that tells you, this is not your decision to make anymore. Ibrahim did not argue with her. He did not rebel. He did not sneak away and enlist behind her back. He waited. He asked. Because in his culture, and perhaps in yours too, a mother's blessing is not optional. It is sacred. And she gave it. She looked at her son, the boy from Kara, the quiet genius, the geology graduate, the young man who could have been anything. And she said yes. With tears in her heart that she probably never let him see, with a fear that probably never fully left her, she said yes. Years later, Traoré described this moment in his own words. Simple words, honest words, words that carry the weight of a mother's love. I was doing well in geology. I could do whatever I wanted, you know. But it was in my master's year that she gave me permission. I took the academy test, went to do my training, and became an army officer. She gave me permission. 4 words that changed history. In 2009, Ibrahim Traoré entered the George Namoano Military Academy in Po. He graduated as sub-lieutenant, vice major of his class, second in his entire promotion. The quiet student had become the quiet soldier, excellent without ever needing to announce it. He was sent to Morocco for anti-aircraft training, then assigned to Kaya in northern Burkina Faso, the deadliest region in the country, where jihadist groups burned villages, kidnapped children, and killed anyone who resisted. This is where the army sent its toughest soldiers, and this is where Ibrahim Traoré chose to be. He was promoted to lieutenant in 2014. He deployed to Mali with MINUSMA, the United Nations peacekeeping force, and in 2018, during massive rebel attacks in the Timbuktu region, the United Nations did something unusual. They specifically cited Ibrahim Traoré as one of the soldiers who showed courage during the fighting. The United Nations does not use that word lightly. Courage. They see thousands of soldiers from dozens of countries. They know the difference between a soldier who follows orders and a soldier who runs toward danger because something inside him will not allow him to run away. Ibrahim Traoré was the second kind. He came back to Burkina Faso. He fought at Djibo. He fought in the Otapuanu offensive. He fought in operations that never made the international news because the world does not pay attention when African soldiers die defending African villages. And then his heart broke. Not on the battlefield. In the space between the battlefield and the capital. Traoré began to see the truth that would turn him from a soldier into a revolutionary. The soldiers on the front lines had nothing. No proper equipment, no armored vehicles, not enough ammunition. They were fighting the most dangerous terrorist groups in the world with the bare minimum. Some of them were dying because a piece of equipment that cost a few $100s was not available. And meanwhile, back in Ouagadougou, the politicians were living in mansions, driving expensive cars, sending their children to private schools abroad. And the worst part? The part that lit a fire in Traoré's chest that would never go out, was this. Politicians were handing out suitcases full of cash for bribery. Suitcases full of cash, while soldiers bled to death in the sand. Any soldier watching this knows that rage. Any worker who has ever been underpaid while the boss buys a new car knows that rage. Any teacher who cannot afford books while government officials fly first class knows that rage. That rage is universal, and that rage is what built the revolution. Traoré became the voice of the soldiers in the north. The quiet boy became the loudspeaker for every man who had been forgotten by his own government. And when two coups shook Burkina Faso in 2022, Ibrahim Traoré emerged from the chaos as the leader. On September 30th, 2022, at the age of 34, Captain Ibrahim Traoré became the youngest head of state in the world. 34. The same age Thomas Sankara was when he took power. The same age Sankara was when he was murdered. The red beret, the military fatigues, the fire in the eyes. History was not repeating itself. History was getting a second chance. And the very first thing this new president did was refuse his presidential salary. He kept his captain's pay. While presidents across Africa earn six figures, while some have Swiss bank accounts and London apartments and Dubai shopping sprees, Ibrahim Traoré earns what a military captain earns. Because he remembered Kara. He remembered his father, the soldier nurse. He remembered his mother, the housewife. He remembered the soldiers in the north who had nothing while politicians carried suitcases of cash. And then he built. He built like a man possessed. He built like a man who knows that time is not guaranteed, that 5 assassination attempts have already come and gone, that the next one could succeed, and that every day is borrowed time that must be used for his people. He expelled French troops within months. He nationalized gold mines and created a state mining company. He stopped the export of raw gold to Europe. He changed colonial street names. He banned second-hand clothing imports to protect local textile workers. He achieved food self-sufficiency. He produced 94 tons of gold in a single year, making Burkina Faso Africa's 4th largest producer. He flipped the national economy from deficit to surplus. He forced the IMF to disburse $33 million. He built the alliance of Sahel states with Mali and Niger. He created a $895 million investment bank. He launched a new digital platform for government transparency. He inaugurated a tomato processing plant. He distributed hundreds of tractors to farmers. He built a new airport, a geology graduate, a captain's salary, 37 years old. And he has done more for his country in 3 years than most leaders do in 30. At the inauguration of Ghana's president in January 2025, 21 African heads of state were present. When Ibrahim Traoré walked in, he received the loudest applause of all of them. Not from diplomats, not from politicians, from the people. Because the people know. The people always know. They can feel who is real and who is performing. And Traoré is the most real leader most of them have ever seen. Shifter magazine named him Person of the Year. The Institute for Security Studies called him arguably Africa's most popular president. A Ghanaian filmmaker made a movie about him called The Last African Hero. Across the internet, AI-generated images, viral videos, and fan-made anthems have turned him into something between a president and a legend. Not because of propaganda, because of something you cannot manufacture. Genuine love from genuine people. Somewhere in Kara, there is a mother. She is older now. Her hair carries the silver that comes from years of worry and prayer and hoping your child will survive another day. She watches the news, or maybe someone tells her what her son did today. Maybe she smiles. Maybe she cries. Maybe she does both at the same time, the way only mothers can. She did not want him to be a soldier. She wanted him safe. She wanted him studying rocks and coming home for dinner and giving her grandchildren she could hold without worrying that a phone call in the night would shatter her world. But she gave him permission. And that permission produced the most extraordinary leader Africa has seen in a generation. A man who took a country that was being looted, abandoned, and terrorized, and turned it into a model that the entire continent is watching. A man who refuses luxury while building wealth for his people. A man who stands alone against empires and does not blink. That is what a mother's blessing can do. That is the power of one woman saying yes to her son's destiny, even when every part of her was screaming no. If your mother believed in you when nobody else did, you understand this story. If your mother sacrificed so you could become who you are, you understand this story. If your mother let you go even though it broke her heart, you understand this story. This video is not about politics. It is not about geopolitics. It is about the thing that makes all of it possible. The love between a parent and a child. The moment when that love becomes permission. And the miracle that happens when a young man from Kera takes that permission and uses it to change the world. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, son of a soldier nurse, son of a housewife, son of Kera, son of Burkina Faso, son of Africa. And the greatest proof that extraordinary things come from ordinary places, if only someone believes in you enough to let you try.